Hey guys, welcome back to Imagine Blue. Today we are covering a topic that we've all kind of been thinking about recently because it's been in the media a little bit more and more these days. But basically, we've noticed, as well as others, that Marvel TV shows have a huge problem with them, and it can be pretty much applied to all the ones that have recently been released on Disney Plus.
What is this huge problem you speak of?
It's an issue. Generally, it's an issue with pacing and creating tension in the show that is like kind of a relevant tension that can make the payoff worth it at the end of the series.
Yeah.
The one freshest in our mind is probably Moon Knight, and I enjoyed.
Well, at this point, Moon Knight is only 4 episodes in.
Yeah, it's only 4 episodes, but for me, I enjoyed the first episode quite a lot. But then by the time I hit the third one, it felt like it really slowed down. Was it the third or fourth? Either one, but a lot of the MCU TV shows tend to do that. Like towards around the middle, it gets kind of slow.
Yeah. I think WandaVision was really good for the reason that it didn't have this problem that we're kind of seeing. With
Yeah, it was just slow in the
other
beginning completely.
shows. It was slow, but that's the thing. It was slow, but there was a mystery behind it that we're like, oh, we don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Whereas in the other shows, they are establishing a problem at the very start. And then throughout the course of the show, they kind of lose track a little bit of the problem until it comes back at the very end.
Yeah, there's a difference between things that are slow or have a problem with pacing versus things that are meant to be a slow burn.
Yes.
And WandaVision was meant to be a slow burn, and it was executed as such.
Yes.
Successfully, I think, yeah.
Yeah, also what's mentioned that WandaVision was meant to be like it celebrates TV, so I feel like it makes sense that they're very like, okay, let's everything build on TV, but all these other Marvel properties, although of course Wanda was from the cinematic universe, it's all just building upon the cinematic universe. So it's a really good question of like, does Marvel really just not know how to make a TV property based off the cinematic universe? Is really the question we're asking here. Because what it comes off to us is that we feel like these things would have been better if they were just a film. You know, the material that they've given us, it could essentially be like Moonlight right now, or should be a film. Like,
Yeah.
It would be better as a film. With all of the issues that we're talking about is the fact that it seems like the show loses track of what its main story is at some point, and it slows down. Even though the shows are they're really short.
Yeah.
6 episodes. Like at a certain point, are you calling this a series? Like 6 episodes, really? Like, come on now. So even though they're short, if it still feels like it's slowing down, and it seems like it's because they're dragging out what should be a movie.
Yeah, it's every one of these shows has a very simple story. Like they establish like pretty much the most important stuff in Moon Knight, like in the very beginning. Like we meet the villain. Well, first episode, but then it was the second episode that it's Steven sits down with him, and the villain speaks his piece, and you're like, oh, okay, like this guy's making a lot of sense, but he's also like a villain, because he's like, he might, kill children and whatnot. It's like, that's the villain. Let's go. We can keep this momentum going, find out like the best, most effective way to stop him, because like he's a bad dude, and Amit is like also evil. But then. And then it meanders, like you said. There's like a lot of other stuff going on that kind of inhibits what should have been like the most important part of the story, is like stopping the villain.
Yeah.
I mean, how about the other Marvel TV shows? Like personally, for me, I enjoyed them. Like it was a fun watch.
They're all good,
but I just felt like it could have been better.
Yeah. They all have suffer from this problem to varying degrees. With Falcon and Winter Soldier, you have the threat of terrorists that, have this evil plan.
But what about the parents' boat?
Yeah, exactly. We're spending time fixing up a boat. Which, I get it. Like, you want to build character and stuff like that. But when you establish this huge threat and then you act like it's not a threat at a certain point, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, Come on. And then with Loki, at the beginning we have the threat of
Sylvie.
Sylvie. I can't. Yeah. We have the threat of Sylvie, and I don't know. Is that like the whole thing with the with King the Conqueror was really cool, but the conflict between Sylvie and Loki, like.
Are you saying like, do we even need to see her anymore?
Yeah. Like,
yeah. What do we?
Yeah.
I feel like we do. Just because she killed that version of Kang. Also because Loki loves her, but but also I feel like what happened with Loki is that they had a full episode that didn't matter too much when they were on that planet where it was dying.
Yeah, that was a terrible episode. It was like
and you could have probably made that episode 5 minutes in a different episode and it still would have had the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
I get the whole point of them trying to make it seem like they start caring about each other and whatnot. And it's weird, but I don't know. That episode was dragged on. It was the issue, and that's the issue we're talking about.
How do we? Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say. I'm just curious about these approaches because it's like I feel like a concept like Loki could work as a TV series.
Yeah.
Itself, like the concept itself, just it being that there's alternate, different dimensions, realities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm just curious. Like what are really it was just the way they approached it in a way where it's like we feel like it needs to like resolve in a certain way as opposed to it being like what if the narrative was just like okay, Loki realizes there's all these alternate realities, he's enjoying his time in all these alternate realities, meanwhile you have the time safety whatever patrol people trying to chase that, but because that's kind of like its plot and there's no like well, if they don't resolve it at certain, like, I feel like there's a deadline. Like you said, there's always these deadlines that make it come off as like, okay, we gotta solve it now, as opposed to it being like a normal.
This is like a background problem that.
Like it's a background problem that could escalate into something terrible as it's going on, as opposed to this deadline. Like, if we don't solve it now, it's the end of the world, right?
Right.
So, because like,
I mean, what was that for Hawkeye then? I guess the deadline was Christmas. Yeah.
To
get back to his
there you go.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
I guess
I forgot about Hawkeye.
I really did too. Yeah, but it's weird.
I was like, we're missing one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But to me, it's weird because it's like.
I liked Hawkeye. I mean, it was a fun show overall.
Yeah.
Hawkeye's the worst one that we've had so far.
Yeah,
Really?
Maybe it is because they reveal it early. Because it's like, I feel like all these elements, I see them in other TV shows. It's like, I mean, again, with the whole end of the world, like, let's take Supernatural. Like, Supernatural is a good example where they'll have a plot where if they don't solve it, the world will get destroyed, right? But it does feel like it still can work within that, 20 episodes.
24 episodes.
24 episodes. But I don't know why these these shows, it just feels like it just doesn't work. I'm just trying to figure out why.
Is it like in those shows like Supernatural?
I mean,
outside
it depends on what season you're talking about. First of all, for Supernatural,
I'm not like early on. It's very like villain of the week. Versus
Season
later
4.
on.
Yeah.
When
They
you
kind of.
introduce gods.
Basically, my whole point is like the whole point is they're always going to have a main plot that's like, we need to stop this villain or the biggest thing is going to happen, right?
Right. Where
maybe it's less of a deadline and more of a like us versus them happening like along the way.
Maybe
expand on that.
Because like, how there's a deadline for these shows, essentially if they don't stop Sylvie then from killing Kang. I mean, that's not really a deadline. It's more like there's some, Loki doesn't even make sense with this deadline thing.
I think that's the problem. The more we're talking, I'm like, there's just a lot of stuff that does not make sense. That shouldn't even be.
We're not trying to think about what was the main conflict in Loki.
There's always some ridiculous, illogical thing every series that
I know
they could have just trimmed the fat.
Yeah. I know the main conflict of Loki. It's the fact that the TVA was created by someone. They don't really like, it was supposed to be the time guardian keepers or whatever, but they were fake, right?
Yeah.
So it was Kang who technically did it, and is trying to keep that prime timeline or whatever. But the issue with the deadline aspect is that because Loki deals with time travel and time stuff, it's like, is there really a deadline? Because the time is
just go back in time.
That's what confuses me about Loki in that regard. But for sure, Hawkeye has the deadline of Christmas, and then I guess WandaVision didn't really have a deadline. It's more
No.
like people were trying to stop her.
Yeah, which I think makes it work much better.
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
that
they build
aspect.
So I feel like it's not necessarily the case for all the shows. It's just
It just feels like the stakes are like so low for everything because of all the side things that are going on,
Yeah.
right? Like when the stakes are low, it's like, why do we care?
Yeah.
But I mean, like Moon Knight has one that's very definitive, which is we got to stop the
Amit.
villain from
From Awakening Amit, yeah.
and then they take breaks, a lot of breaks that feel like they're not really urgent about it, which is an issue.
Yeah, I guess for me it's just weird because it's like there's again like let's take Supernatural out because that's like a 22-minute show, but like even like the Marvel shows, I mean like Daredevil or even Jessica Jones and all this other stuff, like I don't know, maybe it's just the way it's built up, but it's like those shows are like at least like 12 episodes or 10 episodes, but yet it doesn't feel like that deadline is like, oh, okay, they need it, like you can even have that plot summarized already, like, okay, we need to stop this guy, otherwise he's a dangerous menace, but it doesn't feel like, but every episode feels like there is some relevance to it, but I don't know what it is with these these series that it's just like, it just feels like you're wasting your time if
It feels like they're wasting time.
like that's what it
Maybe
is.
maybe it's our expectation because like maybe since we know that okay, there's only 6 episodes in, and you're packing in a whole season of TV. Like we're expecting it to be fast paced, and then when it slows down and where we're wasting time, having
Yeah,
a
could
random
be.
adventure on a dying planet. It's like, what do we? Why are we using this episode
Yeah.
in this short series to tell a story that is not leading us anywhere? It's not progressing the story.
And this,
at all.
and this is the Marvel universe, so it's like, how many cosmic threats can we experience before it's like,
Yeah.
which is the bigger cosmic threat? Like now we're having to like weigh the different like things, the importance.
That's
I know you
another
wanted to touch
one.
on this because
Yeah.
it's like now there are so many deities and gods and things, right? That we have to like consider. Like,
Yeah.
what are we considering to be the
There's-
biggest threat when there's so many things going on?
There's literally a celestial head in the middle of the ocean. Half the people got snapped away for 5 years, and now recently the whole sky got turned around for the entire world. What is
Exactly.
What is
That-
this place?
Yeah. What's the question?
The Marvel
What-
universe is just, they're in hell. They're in hell.
Yeah.
That's just like half of the
Yeah.
things that have happened to everybody in the world because of these Marvel characters.
I know
So-
they
I'm
should be treating this with more care because it is a cosmic threat. Whereas like Daredevil and all those great Defenders shows on Netflix, like they were more grounded. They were dealing with street crime and they
Yeah.
were like great, like subtle performances.
Yeah.
Whereas like every Disney Plus show, maybe except like Hawkeye and Falcon Winter Soldier, like dealing with like cosmic, like big supernatural threats.
Yeah.
And so like yeah, everything is like being mishandled on that front. I think with like Hawkeye and Falcon Winter Soldier, like you can compare those more aptly to like the Defender shows because like they're a little more grounded. But even then, like those have like problems with pacing and tension and stakes too,
Yeah.
I agree.
I liked Hawkeye.
On that note, let us know in the comments if you agree with our take. If you have any thing that we're missing, that maybe we're missing an aspect of this that could change our opinion on these shows.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong. I personally very much enjoyed most of the
Yeah.
Marvel TV shows on
Yeah.
Disney Plus. The only one I didn't like was WandaVision, and I'm probably the only one that didn't really like it that much.
I didn't like WandaVision, but not because of the writing. I didn't like it just because of
Yeah.
a specific thing in the last
Ending?
episode.
But
Yeah.
every
The way
other
it ended.
every other Marvel TV show on Disney Plus so far has been great in my opinion, and
Yeah.
we're just stating things that we've noticed,
Yeah.
areas that are weaknesses that can be done better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I enjoyed all of them too. I'm enjoying Moon Knight, and I think the reason we bring this up is because there's still 2 episodes left, right? And like I think if they can pull it up, it could easily be like my favorite of like the Disney Plus shows because there's like a lot of good stuff that I like about Moon Knight.
Yeah, I just don't want my theory to be the best, like better than what the actual show
Yeah.
shows us. But we'll
what's
see.
your theory?
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, definitely let us know in the comments if you agree with us, disagree, and we'll catch you later.
Peace.
Peace.